Jim Carrey was paid $350,000 to make this film. 2 years later, he was earning $20 million per picture, the first actor in history to hit that number. The movie that started it all cost $15 million to make and earned over $107 million back. Critics gave it an F. The director was a first-time feature filmmaker who hid his own company name inside the mental institution set. The death metal band performing in the nightclub scene only showed up because the entire production schedule was rearranged around their European tour, and the villain's twist was foreshadowed by a fruit bowl that nobody noticed for years. 20 facts about Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Let's go. Subscribe if you haven't, it genuinely helps. Now let's get into it.
What's the matter with you? I said get!
Number 20. Before Jim Carrey ever put on the tutu and the slicked back hair, Rick Moranis was the name at the top of the list. He turned it down because he was already committed to the Flintstones, where he was playing Barney Rubble. The search that followed went in some genuinely strange directions. Judd Nelson was considered, Alan Rickman came up. At various points, so did Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Adam Sandler. Then the producers started floating the idea of scrapping the character entirely and starting over with a female lead named Alice Ventura. Whoopi Goldberg was brought up for that version. Nothing clicked. Nothing felt right. The character sat in development limbo until Jim Carrey walked in and made the role so specifically his own that it became almost impossible to imagine anyone else having ever been considered. Number 19. The original screenplay had none of it. No voice, no walk, no alrighty then. On the page, Ace Ventura was a generic, clumsy detective with no distinguishing qualities. He was a placeholder waiting for someone to make him into something. Carrey was that someone. The catchphrases, the physicality, the vocal choices, the entire philosophical approach to the character, all of it came from Carrey's own stand-up material and years of physical comedy development. He came to the project with two firm conditions before signing. First, the film had to be as aggressively weird as he wanted it to be. Second, despite the weirdness, Ace had to actually be brilliant at his job. Those two conditions are what hold the comedy together. A character who is genuinely unhinged, but also genuinely competent, is funnier and more interesting than either quality on its own. Carrey understood that from the start. The writers just had to catch up.
Oh my God. 3 times?
I'm sorry. That's never happened to me before. I must be tired.
Number 18. Tom Shadyac had never directed a feature film before Ace Ventura. His previous credits were as a joke writer for Bob Hope. That is not the conventional path to helming a Hollywood studio comedy, but Shadyac wanted to direct, and this was his shot. What he did with it, giving Carrey the space to build the character from scratch while maintaining enough structure to make the film work as a story, showed a confidence that belied his lack of feature experience. He also left a personal calling card buried in the production design. The psychiatric institution where Ray Finkle is held is called Shady Acres, a direct reference to Shadyac's own production company, Shady Acres Entertainment. Most viewers read it as a throwaway gag name and never connect it back to the man behind the camera. That company went on to produce Bruce Almighty, where Shadyac and Carrey reunited a decade later.
All right, that's it. Now it's my turn. 5 minutes alone. That's all I need. Come on.
Gotta look alive. I'm horns on our way down.
Number 17. Sean Young was not an easy sell to Morgan Creek Productions. She had developed a difficult reputation in Hollywood disputes on sets, high-profile confrontations, and the producers were reluctant. They had someone else in mind for Lieutenant Lois Einhorn. Carrey, despite still being a relative unknown without the leverage of a proven box office record, pushed back hard. He told the producers directly, No. Whatever you're hearing is BS. She's great." Young has publicly credited Carrey as the only actor who ever personally went to bat for her to get a casting decision reversed. His argument worked, and she got the role. The performance she delivered, playing a character who needed to be convincing as both a police lieutenant and something considerably more complicated, required exactly the kind of controlled, layered work that she brought to it. Carrey read that correctly when the producers couldn't. Number 16. Carrie-Anne Moss, Téa Leoni, and Lauren Holly all auditioned for the role of Melissa Robinson. Courtney Cox beat them all out. When the film released in February 1994, she was a working actress with solid credits, but no particular cultural footprint. She was not yet a household name by any measure. Friends premiered in September of that same year. The gap between Ace Ventura hitting theaters and the first episode of Friends airing is roughly 7 months. Every audience member who watched Cox play Melissa Robinson in February 1994 met her before she became Monica Geller. The film exists in that narrow window where she was cast precisely on talent before cultural ubiquity made her one of the most recognizable faces on television for the next decade.
Holy Testicle Tuesday! What the hell is he doing here?
Number 15. When production began, the most famous name attached to the project wasn't the lead actor, it was Tone Loc. Fresh off back-to-back top 5 singles with Wild Thing and Funky Cold Medina, Tone Loc was at the peak of his commercial visibility in a way that Carrey, as a still-emerging leading man, simply wasn't yet. Including him gave the project credibility with a broader audience and added commercial weight to the promotional materials. Tone Loc played Emilio, a police detective and Ace's friend in the field. His track, Ace in the House, was worked into the film's soundtrack. In practical terms, his casting was a savvy calculation. Attach a proven name from music to help sell a film built around a comedian whose box office track record as a lead was still being established. Within a year, the equation had completely reversed.
Congratulations. You've done some fine detective work. Ace.
Number 14. The scene where Ace interrogates Emilio by talking through his backside is one of the film's most remembered bits. Its origin is a genuine conflict. During Carrey's time on In Living Color, he repeatedly pitched a sketch to creator Keenan Ivory Wayans involving the same gag. Wayans kept rejecting it. The frustration built over multiple pitches until Carrey's patience ran out, and he stood up in the middle of a meeting and physically acted out the rejected bit using his own body. The room went tense. It came close to turning into something more serious before Wayans walked out. The two eventually talked it through and moved on. Years later, working with Tom Shadyac on Ace Ventura, Carrey brought the rejected sketch back for the interrogation scene. Tone Loc, playing the character being interrogated, managed to hold a straight face through the entire sequence. A bit that emerged from a real workplace argument about what was and wasn't funny became one of the most quoted scenes in the film.
Except, of course, for that spot of blood on the railing over there. May I tell you what I think happened?
Number 13. Jim Carrey was a genuine Cannibal Corpse fan. When the nightclub scene was being planned, he requested them specifically. The band initially said no, they were already locked into a European tour and couldn't fit a film shoot around it. That would normally end the conversation. Instead, the production rearranged its entire filming schedule to accommodate the band's availability. Carrey knew their catalog well enough that he was reciting specific lyrics to them on set. He personally selected the song they would perform, Hammer Smashed Face. For Cannibal Corpse, this turned out to be the most mainstream exposure they had ever received, and they have called it the biggest moment of their career in terms of cultural visibility. A death metal band that turned down the opportunity ended up in the film because a Hollywood production shuffled its entire logistics around their tour dates.
Do not go in there. Woo!
Number 12. Ace's apartment was populated with real animals throughout filming, and Courtney Cox had a difficult time with several of them. Tom Shadyac has specifically mentioned the monkey as the creature that caused her the most distress. Performing scenes in an environment full of unpredictable animals while trying to hit comedy marks on a compressed production schedule created a unique kind of on-set anxiety that wasn't easily managed. Then came the love scene between Cox and Carrey. Shot with the full complement of apartment animals present, Shadyac has described it as the most uncomfortable scene he has ever put on film for everyone involved, including himself. Animals are indifferent to human embarrassment, which turns out to be its own particular problem when you're trying to film an intimate scene. The combination of Cox's genuine unease and the unself-conscious audience watching the actor's work gave the sequence an awkwardness that no amount of professional preparation could fully dissolve.
You a pain in the...
Number 11. The building that serves as Ace's Surfside apartment is the real Campton Apartments on Washington Avenue in South Beach. The location matters beyond the address. It sits directly adjacent to the Cameo Theater, which is where the Cannibal Corpse nightclub scene was filmed. The two most chaotic sequences in the film were shot in buildings that share a wall. The mansion used for the lavish party and the psychiatric facility scenes is Villa Vizcaya in Coconut Grove, a historic estate completed in 1916 that has since appeared in Iron Man 3, Any Given Sunday, and Airport 77, among other productions. The choice to use real Miami locations rather than studio-built sets gives the film a texture and specificity that grounds the comedy even when the humor is at its most surreal.
She is suffering from the worst case of hemorrhoids I have ever seen! That's why Roger Podacter is dead! He found Captain Winky!
Number 10. When Ace enters Lieutenant Einhorn's office to lay out his theory of the case, there is a fruit arrangement on her desk, a banana positioned between two apples. It is not a random prop choice. The arrangement is a deliberate visual foreshadowing of Einhorn's true identity, planted in plain sight for the entire scene. Tom Shadyac confirmed in the commentary that this was an intentional decision, one of the only moments in the film where the filmmakers attempted something he described as subtle. Given that the rest of the movie operates at a frequency that makes subtlety nearly impossible to sustain, the fruit bowl remains one of those details that rewards second viewings. It is right there the whole time, and almost no one catches it on the first pass.
Hi, I'm looking for Ray Finkel. And a clean pair of shorts.
What do you know about Ray Finkel?
Number 9. The photograph Ace finds of Ray Finkel during his NFL career shows a man in a Dolphins uniform. That face belongs to Sean Young. She wore a wig, a fake mustache, and stripped away everything except the minimal disguise, and the result is a surprisingly convincing male appearance from the neck up. Shadyac himself pointed out in the commentary that one reliable way to identify her is the arms. They remain noticeably slender, regardless of the disguise. The visual design of the Finkel character was grounded in a real player, Uwe von Schamann, a kicker who played for the Dolphins in the early 80s. His physical build and on-field footage were used as reference points to make the fictional backstory feel like something that could plausibly exist in the real history of the franchise. The character exists at the intersection of Sean Young's performance, von Schamann's image, and the audience's willingness to accept the connection. Number 8. The hook sequence that closes the film's action was shot with a more extreme ending in mind. The original cut showed the hook connecting with both henchmen Rock and Vinny and decapitating them on screen. The sequence was staged and filmed to deliver that result. The decision was made to pull back before the impact. The final version cuts away at the last possible moment, and both characters appear later in handcuffs rather than in pieces. The tonal argument for the change was straightforward. A film that runs on manic comedy and physical absurdity doesn't need a graphic double decapitation in its third act. The original footage exists. The choice to not use it kept the film's internal logic intact.
When we find Marino, we'll deliver Snowflake.
When I find Snowflake,
I'll deliver Marino.
Number 7. Dan Marino played himself in the film, appearing as a kidnapping victim alongside Snowflake the Dolphin in a plot that made the Super Bowl losing quarterback a central figure in a pet detective mystery. It was not a cameo in the traditional sense. His character was genuinely woven into the story's resolution. Marino later appeared in small roles in Little Nicky and Bad Boys 2. None of those approached the screen time or narrative importance of what he did here, by any reasonable measure. Ace Ventura represents the peak of Dan Marino's acting career, a fact that is considerably funnier when you note that he was one of the most accomplished quarterbacks in NFL history. Number 6. The character of Ray Finkel was inspired by Scott Norwood, the Buffalo Bills kicker whose wide right miss in Super Bowl XV became one of the most discussed plays in championship game history. Norwood's miss was the emotional and psychological template for what the filmmakers wanted Finkel's backstory to feel like, the kind of single moment that rewrites a career and a life. However, the actual game footage used in the film to show Finkel's career-ending miss belongs to Uwe von Schamann, who played for the Miami Dolphins. The switch was a production decision made for practical and possibly legal reasons. The remarkable coda to this is that von Schamann has, by his own account, thoroughly embraced being linked to the fictional Finkel. He finds the association entertaining rather than insulting a considerably healthier relationship with the gag than anyone might have expected.
Just don't let me catch you with an animal in here, that's all.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Number 5. Carrey's deal for Ace Ventura was in the range of $350,000 to $450,000 depending on the source. For an actor without a proven leading role track record, this was a reasonable number, and he took it. The film released in February 1994. By the end of that same year, he had starred in both The Mask and Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber alone paid him $7 million. By 1996, he signed for The Cable Guy at $20 million, the first time any actor in Hollywood history had received that figure for a single film. The trajectory from $350,000 to $20 million across a span of roughly 2 years is one of the most dramatic salary escalations in the history of the industry, and it traces directly back to Ace Ventura being the film that proved Carrey could carry a movie on his own.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You sounded like someone else.
Never mind the wisecracks, Ventura.
Number 4. Ace Ventura was still in theaters and was, in fact, the only Jim Carrey film currently playing anywhere when Warner Brothers decided to offer him the role of the Riddler in Batman Forever. The Mask hadn't come out yet. Dumb and Dumber hadn't come out yet. The decision was based entirely on what they saw in this single film. Warner Brothers went from their first choice to a man whose entire feature film resume as a lead consisted of one comedy that critics had savaged, The Gamble Work. Batman Forever earned over $300 million worldwide, and Carrey's performance as the Riddler became one of the most defining pop culture images of the mid-90s. Tom Shadyac and Carrey also reunited on Liar Liar and Bruce Almighty, establishing one of the more productive director-actor partnerships of that decade.
Einhorn is a man!
Number 3. The climax involves Ace exposing Lieutenant Einhorn as Ray Finkel, revealing she is a transgender woman. The film treats this revelation as the ultimate shock, cutting to every character in the room reacting with revulsion. The officers gag. Ace brushes his teeth obsessively and takes a prolonged shower after realizing he had kissed her. The joke is that her identity is inherently disgusting. This sequence was examined specifically in the 2020 Netflix documentary Disclosure, which tracks Hollywood's history of harmful transgender representation. What was considered an outrageous comedic twist in 1994 is now frequently cited as one of the more troubling examples of 90s mainstream media using trans identity as a punchline. Modern reviews consistently flag it. The conversation around it has shifted substantially from the film's original release, and it now occupies an uncomfortable position in the cultural memory of a film that is otherwise widely loved. That tension doesn't resolve neatly, and audiences engaging with the film today have to sit with both realities simultaneously.
Meet Ace Ventura. He's our pet detective.
Oh, hi. Nice to meet you. Came very highly recommended by Martha Metz.
Number 2. Tom Shadyac has said that reviews were getting close to 90% trashing when the film released. The Los Angeles Times was brutal. Entertainment Weekly handed it an F grade. The language used across those original reviews was consistent: puerile, juvenile, exhausting, and assault on taste. The audience response was a complete inversion. On a $15 million budget, the film earned over $107 million worldwide. It was one of the year's biggest surprise hits. The gap between what professional critics thought of it and what paying audiences chose to spend their money on was almost total. Ace Ventura is one of the cleaner examples in 90s cinema of the critical establishment and the general public evaluating the same film and arriving at completely opposite conclusions, and the audience, by every commercial measure, being right.
So, are these all the receipts? There's only a dozen of them.
No, maybe it's in another file in the back or something.
Who the hell is that?
Number 1. Tom Shadyac's career after Ace Ventura was extraordinary by any measure. He directed Liar Liar, Patch Adams, Nutty Professor, and Bruce Almighty. His films combined to earn more than $2 billion at the global box office. His personal net worth reached around $50 million. He had a 17,000 square foot mansion, a private jet, and a car collection that reflected exactly how much money a first-time director can accumulate when his debut film becomes a cultural phenomenon. Then, he had a serious bicycle accident that resulted in lasting neurological damage and a prolonged period of recovery that forced him to stop and examine what his life had actually become. His conclusion was that almost none of it was necessary. He sold or gave away the mansion. He got rid of the jet. He donated enormous portions of his wealth and moved into a trailer park in Malibu. He then made a documentary called I Am, in which he tried to articulate what the whole process had taught him. The man who built his fortune on a film where Jim Carrey talks through his backside ended up walking away from most of it voluntarily, and doing so publicly and without apparent regret.
No!
20 facts about Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. The director in a trailer park, the death metal band whose tour rescheduled a Hollywood production, the fruit bowl nobody noticed, and the 350 that turned into 20 million. If any of these surprised you, drop it in the comments. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.